Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Breaking Boundaries, the world's premier podcast for international students, or at least in the top 1,000. I'm John with the TOEFL program, and I'm honored today to be joined by Sarah Souza of Duquesne University's Office of International Admissions. Sarah, welcome to the pod.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. And you said our name
Sarah,
correctly. Duquesne
yes,
University.
yes. But can I ask you, it's spelled, and for the listeners, I'm not making this up, Duquesne, and you get Duquesne out of that.
That's correct. And that is of French origin. So it ties a little bit into the history of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, where we're located, because that was actually the name of the French fort that was located in Pittsburgh before Pittsburgh was named Pittsburgh. So that's where Duquesne
And Sarah,
gets its name.
Yes, I did my homework on this, and by that I mean I scrolled Wikipedia for 3.5 minutes. You're right. It was in New France, which was a portion of the U.S. that prior to the late 18th century actually belonged to France. It's why Quebec is a strange place where folks speak French. And here's my other favorite thing. Duquesne is something of a mouthful, but the previous name for your institution was, correct me if I'm wrong, the Pittsburgh Catholic College of the Holy Ghost. I think this is an upgrade in terms of simplicity.
That's right. I don't know if there was an acronym preferred at that moment, but that definitely speaks to our history and our founders, and it still remains a mission today. It was founded to educate immigrant people in Pittsburgh, their children. So we still hold close to that, and I think it's a reason that I'm especially supported in my role at Duquesne. Working with international students, bringing students in from all over the world. It's really at the core of why we were founded and what we do.
Oh, it's a very cool origin story. Today you have more than 500 international students from 85 different countries. And I want to talk a little bit more about Duquesne, but first I find your story fascinating. You have lived and studied and taught overseas in China. So my first question is, what was that like?
Well, I often say I've already had a full lifetime of experience, and it's an amazing opportunity. I was afforded with my studies in China as an undergraduate here in Pittsburgh. I saw an opportunity to be able to study in China as an exchange student, and I took advantage of it. And I went in with almost no knowledge. I don't even think I knew how to say hello in Chinese, and I quickly learned. And I thought the experience, just in general, was amazing, but I really fell in love with Chinese culture. The people just were very impactful to me, how many kind people I met. And I wanted to learn more. I'm a curious person. I wanted to understand the people. I wanted to speak with them in their language. And it just took me down this path of really heavily focused in Chinese language, which I later studied intensively and made my career in, but as well just to understand someone who's very different than myself and understand a different perspective to this world. So my time in summary in China was transformative. I ended up spending most of my time in Shanghai, and that was a wonderful experience as well, also in business.
And I imagine since you've walked the walk, this probably informs the way you interact with prospective students that come here. But one curiosity I have about your experience, you got your master's in Shanghai. I've heard from students who come to the U.S. that they're often struck by the degree of freedom that students have in the classroom. They're surprised that students don't necessarily attend every class. Some students duck out of lectures early. Was there something about the Chinese classroom experience that surprised you or contrasted with what you were accustomed to in the U.S.?
Absolutely. It's a totally different dynamic, a much more structured dynamic. I think the perspective of your professor, the professor and the student relationship is different. I am saying simply different. I did well in it. It didn't bother me, but it's certainly something if you're going into it and expecting the same, you might be surprised and with an attitude that's not inviting change or difference, you may struggle. So I think you point out something really important to students that are looking to study abroad is have an open mind because it will be different. And And I think it's important to lean into the difference and look to see what is good about it. And so one thing that is very different is that I didn't select my classes. So when I studied international business, and that curriculum was already set out for me. And every semester I was given a schedule. I didn't have the choice of morning, afternoon. It was just, these are the classes and this is what you must take. And there's really no option outside of that because that's what you have to do. And I see sometimes actually students struggling when they come here, the opposite, in that they are looking for a little bit more direction because they may come from a culture that has that. So sometimes ambiguity can also be a little bit confusing when you don't understand what you really want to take or what is better. Well, should I study this class or this class? So that was something different for me. And I don't have the experience of being a master's student in the United States, so I can't even compare it to what it's like here for a master's. I am in a PhD, so that's quite different. There's a lot more freedom, a lot more student-driven involvement in the classroom, certainly than the style in China.
Mm, yeah. Well, this resonates with me, and for students that are coming to the States, to start, you're not shoehorned into a major right away. Some folks often take quite some time to select one. I remember my freshman year, I just opened the registrar book and picked the classes that sounded most interesting. And my favorite one was is simply titled Darwin, Marx, Nietzsche, and Freud. I didn't even read what the course was about. I just clicked yes. It sounded interesting. And as I progressed, I had to discipline myself to be a little more structured. So it is very different. You mentioned your PhD. I see that you're studying, I think it's international or intercultural communication. When you studied abroad, my guess is language was a huge barrier. But what other types of social barriers did you have to overcome? And do you see parallels with the social barriers students have sometimes coming to the States?
Absolutely. I think it's natural to gravitate towards people that you have more in common with. So that could be language. It could be people that speak the same native language as you. It could be maybe some cultural groups, like, for example, Americans might gravitate more towards Europeans because we have some shared cultural elements and history. But I think if for students thinking socially is inviting difference and going out of your way, I think sometimes to explore relationships that might not be easy. I'll give an example. When I was studying Chinese, I had all Japanese classmates. I was an American in a Japanese classroom, and it was funny because we could only speak in Chinese, which for us was very elementary. So it was very funny to have friends, and we would go out and we'd be sitting there and it's like, well, what do you say? And it's like, well, I learned today what's your favorite color. So yeah, what's your favorite color? And we'd be laughing about it. And it was a great way to just connect on, wow, we're really in the same experience at this moment where we've been removed of everything that makes us comfortable, and that's what we can really connect on. So
That's so funny.
yeah, it's a very funny memory, and I was often thinking what people around us must have been thinking, like, what are these people talking about?
Well, Sarah, we're trying to gain a reputation as a hard-hitting journalistic podcast. So I have to ask a difficult follow-up question, and I apologize if this makes you uncomfortable. What is your favorite color?
Red.
Okay.
That's a lucky
All right.
color.
It's in the books.
I thought we got to go red. That's the lucky color in China.
Well, let's go from Shanghai to Pittsburgh. And I have to admit that I am not a completely unbiased party because I love the city of Pittsburgh. I live about 4 hours away, and I have dragged my family there for some weekend trips. But tell me a little bit more about your university. Where is Duquesne in Pittsburgh? So orient us geographically where Duquesne
Sure.
is.
Duquesne is located in the downtown of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So Pennsylvania is located right below New York in America's northeast, and Philadelphia is on the east, and Pittsburgh is on the west. So we're the two biggest cities in Pennsylvania. And I think with that distance in terms of geography, we also have quite a distance in terms of what you can expect as part of the experience in our cities. Pittsburgh has much more of a Midwestern feel, people often say. So the character of our city is a little bit more Midwestern, even though we're located in the Northeast. And Pittsburgh is a second tier city, so it's not a huge city. But I always tell students the best part is that we have everything that a large city does have, except for some of the benefits of being in a smaller city. So more affordable, lower rates of crime. It's very safe here on campus. So these are things that I always promote to students, that we have really a lot of the benefits of a large city. Infrastructure, you go to see great shows, transportation, sports we're famous for in Pittsburgh, but at the same time, some of the benefits of the smaller city. And we know our neighbors here. It's another little benefit as well.
Yeah, it's also it's quietly a gorgeous place. There's Three Rivers Stadium was I think the old football stadium, but you have the Monongahela hitting the Allegheny to make the Ohio, and it's a really gorgeous spot set in the Appalachian Mountains, which are America's older mountain range. They don't have the dramatic peaks of the Rockies, but there's also great hiking and natural beauty around campus. So yeah, at Duquesne, you have the benefits of a relatively large city, but I don't feel claustrophobic in Pittsburgh the way I do in some other larger cities in the U.S.
Absolutely. And the campus is unique. I've actually been to very few campuses like it. It's something that I always promote, especially to international students, because it's a contained campus. While it's in the downtown of Pittsburgh, when you walk onto Duquesne's campus, you feel that you're in a university campus. You don't feel like you're in downtown. And that's amazing because you really get the best of both worlds. You get to be in the classroom, be around your students, feel community and feel safe, because it's really just us here on campus. But you just walk down the street and you're in the downtown. Amazing. So most of our students that have internships just walk. It's very convenient. And for international students coming from big cities, I think many times it could be a real culture shock to go to a place that's in a more rural setting. So I think Duquesne, that's something I always tell students, because it's a little more comforting to feel in a downtown setting, not as big as Shanghai, not going to even pretend it's even close to as big as Shanghai, but you still have the benefits of being in a setting of an urban setting.
Sure. And a quick plug for the Pittsburgh Pirates. Your campus is just a 20-minute walk from what I think is the most charming baseball stadium in the U.S., right on the river, beautiful view, manageable size, relatively affordable.
Absolutely.
Not a great team, but a good experience. Now, Duquesne, you mentioned it's a leafy campus. It feels set apart from the city itself. Do you have a favorite spot on campus to go for a walk or to blow off some steam, read a book? Is there a favorite spot on campus you'd recommend students check out?
Yes, it's a hidden spot. It's a special little grotto that many people go to have a moment of meditation, and it's a very beautiful spot. It overlooks the Monongahela River, and if students come, I will show you where it is. It's a hidden spot, but a very wonderful place to just have a moment to think about whatever you need, to give maybe a moment of thought or release any anxieties. And I often see people there when I come through there myself. So
Brilliant. Well, we won't publicize this spot. We'll
yeah,
we'll add a layer of security. I love it. Well, my last curiosity, Sarah, Duquesne sounds like a wonderful place. Pittsburgh is an amazing American city, but the journey for an international student to gain admission, I know, is not simple. So with that in mind, do you have any tips on students who are seeking to study at Duquesne or elsewhere about how to successfully navigate the admissions process?
Sure. I think planning in advance is really critical. I think for students, there's no need to do things last minute. Plan in advance. We open our applications almost a year in advance. So the visa is probably the most anxiety driving part of the application process for most students. And for sure, I'm empathetic to that. What I would encourage you is the more time that you have to go through that process, the less anxiety that will bring to you. So we open our applications in August for the next year. Many universities do that. So apply early. You can apply in the fall before the intake of what you want to take, so almost a year in advance. That helps a lot. You're not racing to get the last appointment slots and having to arrange a ticket. It's a big life change. Giving yourself time, giving yourself grace to plan, that's important. You want to do a lot of things with your family, so you don't want to be running around and packing your bags frantically and emailing me, what do I need for my immunizations? You want to prepare all these in advance, and giving yourself time helps with it.
I love it. It's great advice. Plan early, early, early. And last question, because I cannot help myself because I love food. Duquesne, pretty close to the heart of Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's famous for some culinary oddities. I think there's a famous sandwich that has French fries
Yeah.
in it, and I can't even begin to describe this. But that aside, what's a good lunch spot in town that you might recommend?
So there is a great lunch spot. It's right across the street from PPG, which is the hockey arena, and it's a block away from our campus. So that's why I mention it. So you can catch a hockey game if you want, or go to this. It's a Middle Eastern style build your own wrap or rice bowl. And I think for a lot of international students, especially, it's just great because it has the rice component. You can get a salad, and it's a little bit sandwichy, but not. So I think those flavors are, I always send students there. It's called Yabas, and it's right here close to campus. So that's my tip. It's definitely not a Pittsburgh origin restaurant. The French fry sandwich would be Pittsburgh, but I think for a lot of our international students, they really like it, and I go there a lot too.
I love it. I love it. Well, let's quick recap. Apply early. There's a hidden grotto. If you want to find it, find Sarah. And if you need to communicate with Sarah or bond on a deeper level, just mention that your favorite color is also red. Fair summary.
That's pretty good. Yeah. And I invite students, I think the other tip for applying, reach out to someone like myself. We are here to help. I enjoy my job. I am really excited when I get to welcome students to campus. It's not easy. It's not easy for you. It's not easy for us. And I think reach out to us, tell us what pain points you're experiencing, and we can help you.
I love it. And that translates to the university experience. I've talked with a lot of students who are hesitant at first to speak with career advisors, professors, folks in the student affairs office. But I do want to reiterate to international students that professionals like Sarah, as well as the professors and on-campus staff, are there to help. And so take advantage of those resources. Well, Sarah, this is great. I've got kids that I'm going to send to Duquesne now. You've completely sold me on the merits of living in Pittsburgh. And thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you.